We are still flying through space. I feel exhausted both mentally and physically. So do Prahlad and Newton. So they were flying for long time through space. So that is the reason he was feeling exhausted. What do you mean by exhausted? Tired, both mentally and physically. And Prahlad and Newton were also feeling exhausted. And how come he is not mentioning about Vidushekar? Because he is a robot, he does not feel the exertion, right? Or the tiredness because he is charged by electricity or some other kind of charging. So he does not feel any weary or tiredness. Shekhar wanted me to open the window. I removed the shutter and the sight that met my eyes was perfectly dazzling. So he wanted Shonku to open the window and see the sight outside, which was perfectly dazzling. What do you mean by dazzling? Quite bright, very bright. There was an endless stretch of bright bubbles in the sky, forming and bursting. So I told you and I had shown you the picture of the outer space. How does it look like? It is having lot of stars, lights, bursting of the stars, right? So that was the endless stretch of bright bubbles. Countless golden spheres were expanding and enlarging until they exploded and made a great golden spray of light like a fountain. So that is the galaxy, right? See, it is like an explosion of lights, right? This is an explosion of light. You can see lot of lights over there. Now, it is as if some king in his new spatial world is having a display of fireworks at some extraordinary royal festival. So he is assuming that it is like the kings are having or enjoying the royal festival by bursting the crackers or the fireworks. Here in the outer space, I feel that there is some king over here who is enjoying the fireworks. But what are these actually? Those are the planets and the stars and all the celestial bodies in the outer space. Now Bidushekhar suddenly shouted, Tafa, and rushed to the window. I followed him and looked out. There were no lights and no rocks, nothing except a bright white planet, clear and pure like a full moon, looking down at us. So, where were they heading to? Bidushekar the robo knows that the planet was Tafa, or that is what Shonku understood. And what kind of description has he given? It is a white planet and it is bright and it is so pure like a full moon. There was no doubt that our rocket was heading for it. If Bidushekar had to be believed, the planet was called Tafa. So he has to believe Bidushekar and that is planet Tafa. Tafa is clearly visible and now we can see millions of blinking lights on its surface as if they are myriad fireflies glowing in the dark. Their light is strong enough to illuminate our cabin. So the meaning of myriad is numerous. The pronunciation is myriad. M-Y-R-I-A-D. The pronunciation is myriad and the meaning is numerous. Lots and lots of fireflies gathered at one place. That is how Tafa the planet was looking like. Let me remind you, this is fictional story. Okay, so it's all imagination. Now their light is so strong enough to illuminate our cabin. What do you mean by illuminate? brighten or give light, brighten our cabin. We reached yesterday. We reached Tafa yesterday. A large number of people had gathered to welcome me. Now there is a description of the people over there. Their heads were large, and so are their eyes, but their arms and legs were very thin. Can you imagine that kind of people having a big large head and large eyes and very thin arms and legs? They will be looking like our cartoon figures, isn't it? As if they have no use of their limbs. I think these creatures are far behind our human civilization. Okay, let me ask you, why did he say that as if they have no use for their limbs? Because until and unless your limbs are very strong, you cannot use it. But here the limbs are very thin, just like a pencil figure. Okay, very thin. Only thing, the head is large, the eyes are large. I think these creatures are far behind our human civilization. They were totally primitive. That means there is no advancement in their thinking or in the way they live. They belong to the original time when these creatures have developed. They have not advanced or progressed. There are no buildings or houses in Tafa, nor are there trees and plants. So just like Mars, Professor Shongu had visited, excuse me, Professor Shongu has visited Mars where he could see different colored trees and rivers, but he could see nothing of that sort in this planet Tafa. The inhabitants live underground. They just disappear into holes. But they have given us a proper house to live in. So how come? How come they give a proper house to Mr. Shongu, whereas they themselves are living under the ground in small holes? So this is a fictional story. Whenever we ask questions, we may not get answers for it. It's all somebody's imagination. Okay. Now, I have decided to stop writing my diary after today, as I do not see any chance of anything happening here that might be worth recording. So he had gone for space exploration with lot of interest and curiosity, but looks like those curiosities have dried down now because he feels that there is nothing exciting to write down in the diary, and he is telling that I am going to stop writing because it's not worth recording. My only regret is that there is no way of sending my diary back to earth. So somehow he has written so many revelations or new discoveries about the places which he had visited, but his worry is that he is not able to send the diary across to earth. It is packed with such a lot of valuable information. The fools who live here will neither understand nor let me go back. So he is kind of trapped in that planet. By now, he knows that there is no escape for him because he will not be sent back to the earth, nor the fools. Why did he address them as fools? Because they are unable to understand or adjust with Professor Shonku's thinking. So they do not have a very scientific mindset to understand Professor Shonku's ideas. So Professor Shongu considered them as fools, and he is telling that I cannot escape from this planet Tafa, but I desperately want this diary to reach on earth. After I had found, now this paragraph, the narrator is telling, uh, After I had found Professor Shonku's diary, I made a copy of the entire diary and dropped it off at the press for printing. So he wanted to let the world know about the diary and experience. So the narrator got a copy of it as soon as he got it. Okay, and there were some weird things happening with the diary in the beginning of the story. Can you recollect? Because the diary looked very indestructible. That means the dog was trying to bite it, but he could not do any harm to the diary. Moreover, the ink of the diary was also changing, right? The color of the ink was changing in the beginning. But now he has taken a copy and he has given it to the press to release so that the world can get to know about the discoveries of Professor Shonku. But when I returned home and went to my bedroom to get the original diary from the bookshelf, I saw that nearly 100 hungry black ants had eaten the entire diary. What happened? Group of black ants had eaten the diary away. So, a diary which was looking indestructible in the beginning was eaten by ants. All I could do was stare in disbelief because it had seemed completely indestructible. So, how could that happen? The diary which was not destructible. Indestructible means which cannot be destroyed. So it appeared that the diary cannot be destroyed by anyone because he put it in the fire also in the beginning. But that fire also could not do any harm to the diary. So how can few ants eat away the diary? Right? So this is left to the imagination of the reader. You can predict as you wish. Okay? Now children, this is the end of this story and there are so many questions and answers we need to understand from the story. We shall do that in the class. I expect everybody to read through the lesson, write down the doubts which you get while reading, then we try to find the answer for it, and if you are unable to get it, I shall help you. Okay? Thank you.